Hey everybody, it's your girl Rosena, the biz lawyer, and you are checking out Scoop B Radio.
Scoop B Radio, everywhere you want to be, your car, the office, the virtual setup, the plane, the train, everywhere you want to be. Make sure to subscribe to the Scoop B Radio podcast on all streaming platforms. Brandon Scoop B Robinson here. And looking at me in that other square, sitting on her throne, is the trademark lawyer, Rosezena Pierce of the RJ Group joins us today. Ms. Pierce, what's going on?
Nothing much, nothing. Just excited to be here today. Thank you for inviting me to your platform.
Of course. And I'm excited because on the 29th of this month, July, if you're paying attention, you have a virtual summit. Tell me about it. It sounds interesting.
Yeah, so it's the Secure the Brand Summit. I used to call it Secure the Throne Summit, but so you go to securethebrand.com and it's actually a 5-day virtual summit where I will be teaching, business owners, really anybody who's interested in business. It's 5 days broken up into one. We're going to talk about the different types of contracts that you just need to know about as a business owner. And then 2, we're going to talk about the intellectual property that you need to know in order to secure the brand. And then we're also going to be covering secure your legacy, which talk about different estate planning and succession planning methods that you need to take as a business owner. And then we're going to spend 2 days talking about securing the bag, which will talk about entity formation and different things of that nature. Because a lot of times people think, if I have an LLC, that's it. And so that's not the end all be all. And sometimes you don't need an LLC. Maybe you need a corporation where your business is taxed as the S Corp. So we're going to get into the nitty gritty of that so that we can teach our bizpreneurs, as we like to call them, not only how to secure the brand, secure the bag, secure their business, but in their legacy, but actually how to secure their throne so they can lead to royalty, generational wealth, and legacy.
Secure the bag alert, as the prophet DJ Khaled would say. Rosezena Pierce, Esquire of the RJ Pierce Law Group, Chicago's own, joins us on Scoop B Radio. I'm curious, you being from Chicago, and I'm sure you watched The Last Dance, correct?
I did.
Okay. When the thing that always stood out to me about Michael Jordan was that the way that he branded himself, he talked about it, was he looked at tennis stars and he used the model of tennis stars, he and his team, to kind of patent or brand the way in which he was perceived in basketball as a rock star. My first question is, did you pay attention to that part?
I have to be honest, I didn't get all the way through to that part, but I can understand. I think I got probably to like the 5th episode, maybe 4th episode, and I'm in and out watching it. But I can see why that makes sense for a basketball player, right? Because, it is, it's a sport where it's team, right? But then tennis players, it's a single person, right? But if you want to create something dynamic, which we all have witnessed the history of Michael Jordan creating, right? And a brand of himself, within himself, you kind of have to do that. And I think he did a really great job for it. And he set a standard and also, I think, educated other athletes on how they can do that as well and still be a team player at the same time. Because I think one thing Jordan understood was he couldn't win the championship rings by himself. Like, I do remember, that part when he talked about Rodman, going to Vegas and like, dude, we need you, right? So I think he did a very gracious way, but also a very way where he was still able to contribute and be a team player. And one day I will finish watching the series.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I stopped watching TV after law school, which it's been 2013 where I really don't watch a lot of TV. But when I do get to sit down and watch TV, I do like to watch pieces like that and things like that, because I really appreciate just them too, like honing in on like Phil Jackson and things like that. Because I am from Chicago, and I remember the first championship win, right? I was a little girl and was like, I want to go outside with everybody else. My grandma was like, you ain't going out there. They acting crazy right now, But just remembering that whole legacy, remembering like what it did for the city, and things like that. So of course I'm like, I gotta finish watching it, but I only got through like 4 or 5 episodes as of now.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Trademarking and LLCs are definitely two different things. But for somebody that knows that they're going to be something special, they know that they need to kind of market it. I know this is controversial, but you look at Quilly, when he trademarked No Diddy, for example, he knew that it was going to be something special. For somebody who's looking to make something stick, what would be your suggestion in both branding and catchphrasing to make sure that you own everything and everything is intact so someone doesn't steal it?
Well, okay, so since you brought it up about the No Diddy trademark, first and foremost, make sure you actually have the legal rights to trademark it first, right? And when I say that, what I mean is that, because Diddy is actually a name of a living human being, under trademark law, in order to trademark someone else's name, you have to have their written consent, right? And I think, Diddy may consider that to be a derogatory term, No Diddy, right? So he's probably not going to consent to the ownership of someone else owning that name. But also, too, he's probably not going to consent. Like, if it was anybody who's going to own it, it's going to be him, right? And people, they say, well, it's not his real name, right? But it's a name that identifies a living individual that we all know who it's referring to, right? So I think he will have that protection under that. Now, also what I would say is, if you are going to coin a term or create a term and you want it to stick and you want people, but you want to profit from it, you want to trademark it first, right? You want to be the one to protect it first. You want to be the one to actually file the application before it kind of go, like we say, viral. Because once it goes viral, what ends up happening is that it can lose its source identifier. And then now you can actually not have the trademark because the government can say it fails to function as a trademark. For instance, like when LeBron James filed Taco Tuesday, the government came back and said that it failed to function as a trademark. Now, Scoop, I do not agree with that ruling. The reason I don't agree with that ruling is because the way LeBron was using Taco Tuesday was not in a way that people normally use Taco Tuesday. He used it to promote like his entertainment, I think like his podcast, a weekly podcast. Now I can understand if they were saying it fails to function as a trademark as it relates to restaurant services, because probably every restaurant, Mexican restaurant, is going to probably have a Taco Tuesday night. But guess what? There's actually a registered trademark for Taco Tuesday for restaurant services. So I don't know what LeBron James' attorney was thinking, but I was ready. I got a great argument for Taco Tuesday on behalf of LeBron James if he want to hire your girl to make that argument for him.
I don't want you to give away your idea, but I guess what I'm asking is, can you expand on that in any way?
Well, I mean, I just think like it goes to the fact of it does not fail to function in that capacity. You get what I'm saying? Like, as how he's using it, right? Because see, there's 45 different classes under trademark law, right? The reason being is so certain trademarks can coexist in a marketplace. That's why we have Dove Chocolate, Dove Soap, Mac Makeup, Mac Computer, Delta Airline, Delta Faucet, Pandora Jewelry, Pandora Music. Now, Entrepreneur, right, of Entrepreneur Magazine, they own the trademark Entrepreneur, right? Now they try to police that trademark like they own the word entrepreneur, but they don't. But they own it as it relates to magazine services, right? And so if they can have a word so simple that defines and describes people, right? Like we're all entrepreneurs, but as it relates to magazine services, why can't LeBron James have Taco Tuesday as it relates to his entertainment and media company?
That makes a lot of sense. LeBron, Rich Paul, I know you're watching, so you need to give Miss Pierce a call because she may have an argument. But it's interesting because you see him now doing the Taco Bell commercial. So I guess this kind of ties into my next question, because the difference between virality and benefiting off the virality versus owning the virality, either pre-virality or more. Would you argue that maybe sometimes it's more profitable in the end to make money off the virality? Because he got the deal through Taco Bell, I'm sure, based off this reputation.
Yeah, and that's true. And Taco Bell actually filed. But see, here's the thing. And I think Taco Bell was really smart about this, right? They went and pulled LeBron James into the situation. I guess LeBron said, forget the trademark or whatever, for how he was going to use it, right? But Taco Bell also petitioned to have the Taco Tuesday canceled for the other restaurant who owned the trademark, right? So Taco Bell has a benefit to say, yes, we should be able to use Taco Tuesday too, because we're a restaurant that sells tacos and we want to probably do a sale for Taco Tuesday. And plus, so many more other restaurants are doing it. That's why it's so important when you do get a registered trademark, right? You make sure that you are protecting and policing your mark, because now Taco Bell can go and pull all the data showing all these other restaurants using Taco Tuesday, right? And this other trademark owner who owns it, not policing that mark and shutting those people down, they lose their rights, right? They lose the, you know, the authenticity of the brand, because now so many other restaurants are using the brand name.
Tell me something. You definitely have your eye on business and marketing and more. I remember college professor and author Michael Eric Dyson saying that
one of my favorites.
What you said?
He's one of my favorites, but go ahead.
Here you go. He said that Allen Iverson was Tupac with a basketball. And I think that's interesting, because I feel like when I look at Allen Iverson, he was authentically him, and that permeated for years to come throughout the league. But I kind of think he was ahead of his time. If you were to go back now and look at some of the things that Allen Iverson did as Allen Iverson, what would you have trademarked and what would you have created that would have made him more money? Because I feel like the one thing that is in his favor is the term AI. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah. But okay, so if Allen Iverson would have trademarked AI, right? He would have possibly trademarked it to represent, maybe like if he's going to sell like apparel or things like that. Now, if AI, artificial intelligence, came and it developed, you know, it would be a hard way for him to pull to say that he owns the term AI, because remember those different classes, right? So I love Allen Iverson. I grew up watching him as well, right? And so I do think he definitely should have owned his name, and for different brand reasons, like what we talked about how Michael Jordan did, right? I think every athlete should, take notes from Michael Jordan and how he just branded himself as a brand, especially because there's fans who truly love, right, these people just because of who they are and what they do. And I think they can do a lot with their name. But unfortunately, I don't think had Allen Iverson trademarked AI back in the, the 90s, early 2000s, I don't think he would have been able to capitalize off of AI, the artificial intelligence, because it's still a different sort of services or a different class, if that makes sense. Now, if AI was like, my name is Allen Iverson and I see this artificial intelligence going to a different way and I'm going to trademark or capitalize off of that and I'm going to start creating and developing, right, then that would have been a different story. Kind of like what Terrence Howard just said, like he was one of the leaders with the patent for virtual reality, but he allowed his patent to go abandoned. And now, Sony, Microsoft, and a lot of other tech giants cited his patent, for their usage of how they use virtual reality services.
How often do you have to update your trademarks?
So that's a great question. So a trademark will actually last as long as you use it, you will not lose it. But you have to file your trademark application and receive the registration so that you can have this exclusive ownership protection and actual benefits that you will receive under the statute that you would not receive under common law just by using a trademark. So once you have the registration of your trademark, and it's successfully registered, you have to renew it between its 5th and 6th year anniversary of its registration date, and then its 9th and 10th year of its registration date, and then every 10 years thereafter, right? So like Coca-Cola has been registered since 1893. Mercedes-Benz registered since 1903. And so every 10 years, they have to show the government that they are continuously using the mark so that they can keep their registration rights.
The 6th year.
Yeah, 5th and 6th year anniversary, then your 9th and 10th year, then every 10 years. And that's important. The reason this is important is because your trademark information is public record. And the other day I got a client who texted me and said, Rosezena, I got this mail saying that they're going to cancel my trademark and it's up for registration. Well, the mail was spam mail and it was a scam. And what happens is they will send you that piece of mail knowing they'll send it like saying your registration will be canceled at the 4th year, knowing that it's so they hope you pay them, but then they know that it's really the 5th and 6th year with the government. So if you fall for the scam, you paid them, but if you don't pay the government, who you have to pay, then it will be canceled at your 6th year within 6 months of the registration.
This is free game, and this is why you all need to check out her virtual summit. Tell them again when it is, the 28th or the 29th?
July 29th, and it's 5 days, so it's going to go from July 29th to August 2nd. We're going to be on Zoom. We're going to have an hour where I'm just going to be teaching you guys just truly how to secure your throne as a business owner. So we're going to talk about secure the bag, secure the business, secure the brand, and securing your legacy through estate planning, contract law, business formation, entity formation, and then we're going to also, of course, talk about intellectual property law.
Yeah, intellectual property is also important. Getting paid for your ideas. Ms. Pierce, Rosezena Pierce, joins us on Scoopy Radio to talk all things branding, why Michael Jordan was smart, and of course, why LeBron James needs to call her because he needs to get his Taco Tuesday right. Couple more.
And for other reasons too, not to mention I am the 15th ranked trademark out of over 33,000 trademark attorneys in the country when it comes to filing trademark applications and getting them through successfully. And so, we want to help with the whole portfolio if we can.
Tell me something, and that's awesome. 15th out of billions, hundreds, thousands. That's a big deal. A lot of people are talking about trusts, and they're talking about separating the person from the business, particularly if they get sued. Can you kind of walk me through that a bit, like that separation of person and business, and avoiding lawsuit or spending less money in that regard? Yes,
and I would say that's why this summit is so important, right? Because a lot of times people want to jump out and, I was just talking to someone the other day who said they want to do a corporation and they are in real estate and their business was in one state, but they wanted to form their business in Wyoming because they hear everybody talking about Wyoming or Nevada, right? Or Delaware. But what people are not telling them is that also too, you have to incorporate your business, if not as the home entity, but as a foreign entity still in the state that you do business in and that you operate in, right? And so the reason, and another thing we always get, Scoop, is people will say, well, I own my LLC, so I own my business. But it's so important that we understand the different legal vehicles and what is the purpose of them, right? So we incorporate our businesses for 2 to 3 reasons, right? One, we're incorporating to make sure that we are shielding our individual selves from any legal liability or any financial liability that is to arise out of the business, right? And then also second, probably for tax benefits. And third, if you're going to try to raise venture capital or anything like that, an investor will like to invest in an actual business structure and not in someone who is operating as a sole proprietor, right? But now when it comes to separating the individual from the business, right, you will basically set up your entity so you can do that. As long as you are operating and you don't have an entity, you're operating as a sole proprietor, which means that the individual is the business, and anything that the business is held liable for, the individual is held liable for. So you separate yourself and you insulate yourself when you incorporate your institution, if you will, right? Now, a trust, it actually can serve as a different purposes. Like a trust can serve, it can be a business owner. A trust can own a trademark, right? It can own property, but it has to be for the purposes in which you're trying to reach, right? Like a trust is usually an instrument we like to use for estate planning and succession planning, right? And so it just depends. You have to see, and this is why I tell people the law is not a one size fit all garment, right? My estate plan or my entity plan, my entity formation may be different from the next person's, right? Because my goals may be different and my business may be different. The income from, the type of people I serve and things like that. So we can't just go with this cookie cutter structure because that's what we hear on Instagram. Like we need to really sit down and talk to a CPA and talk to a lawyer and see what is the actual best structure for you, the individual yourself.
That sounds like a lot of information to process, and that's why you should hire those things as you mentioned, a lawyer, a CPA, estate planner, all those different things. But most importantly, I would imagine keep it simple. Start the brand, build the brand, build the traction, build the subscriptions and all the other things, and start small but go big.
Yes. And I would say, like for me as a trademark lawyer who's been practicing for 11 years, of course, for me, the first step is going to be to trademark your business. And a lot of people may say, oh, she's biased. She's a trademark lawyer. Of course, she's going to say that, right? But I can say that because I am a trademark lawyer and I see what happens, right? In the event you do not do those things, right? And I always say success leaves clues. Look at the most successful people, right? Look at a Kanye, look at a Rihanna, look at, Elon Musk, right? They always file their trademarks first. Even before launching the business. Rihanna just did a Fenty hair launch, right? She filed that trademark in 2021 before even adopting the brand and building the brand and things like that, because you want to make sure you own what you are actually building, right? And so I would say first, develop a unique name first. And once you have a unique name, because the more unique the name is, the easier it's going to get registered and the easier it's going to get to actually stop your competitors from infringing on your name, or now they have nothing but intention to infringe on your name because the brand name is unique, right? So when you think about like a Nike or a Disney or a Kodak or Exxon, they don't mean anything as it relates to the products or service that they offer, right? And so that we call those fanciful terms, and they're very unique terms. And then once you develop the term, then make sure you do the research to make sure that the name is actually available. I always ask people, will you build a house on land you don't own? And everyone always says no, right? And so then I say, well, why do we build brands and businesses if we don't own them? It's the same equivalent. Just like before we go buy our houses, what do? We do a title search to make sure that the land is free and clear of no liens or deeds. No liens or, debts or anything on the land. And it's kind of the same thing with your business name. Before you adopt it, before you begin to build it, you want to make sure that the name is actually available and no one else has ownership to it or no one else is building it. Because what I would hate to see is that you go out, you build a brand, you get marketing material and product packaging, all to now have a cease and desist level where the rightful owner is demanding that you turn over your marketing material and your product packaging so that they can destroy it.
That's crazy.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real.
Before I get out of here and you get out of here and we finish our days, what is something in sports and entertainment that you're paying attention to that athletes may not be paying attention to and they should?
One thing that I am paying attention to, and I think they are, I'm paying attention to trademark law, right? Because that is what I do. And I do think now it has become culture where they are paying attention. You see more athletes trademarking things and, trademarking their slogans and things like that. What I would say is before jumping into just filing the name, right? Because, my daddy always told me, you don't go to a foot doctor for brain surgery, right? So before just jumping into filing a brand name, especially as an athlete and things like that, because of course you're going to be, you're high profile. People are going to be looking and seeing what you're doing and things like that. Just like, for instance, when there was the young lady who filed Bayou Barbie, right? The basketball player.
Angel Reese.
Angel Reese. I think it was Angel Reese who filed that, right?
The Chicago Sky. Yes.
Yes. And we got to do her right in Chicago. We got to take care of her, right? Because I was not happy with how they welcomed her to Chicago as a Chicagoan. I felt like she should have had a whole big party. So we got to get her a party some type of way. But, with that situation, right? Like a practicing trademark attorney could have helped just stop that by saying, look, Barbie is owned by Mattel, right? Unfortunately, you can file a trademark, but as you're a lawyer, I don't even want to put you to that, to have that type of, shame or embarrassment come to you, because Barbie is a registered trademark that's owned by Mattel, right? So instead of us filing a trademark and going to the trademark office and everybody's calling you Bayou Barbie, let's see maybe if we can do a license deal with Mattel and maybe create a actual a Barbie doll for you or something like that, right? If that is the name that you want to adopt. But also too, going back to the greatest, Michael Jordan, you are branding yourself, right? Your name, can carry so much more weight. So just understanding those nuances and understanding, like, because a lot of people don't know. We see it all the time. People, I'm the Instagram guru, or I'm the Airbnb expert, right? But those terms are owned by an actual company. So you cannot incorporate a registered trademark within your brand. So I see athletes that they are, jumping on, and making sure they trademark things and they own things, but just really, really, truly understanding like what true ownership looks like and how to capture it, and always being able to own your name. And then also too, possibly looking at, if you're not the person who's going to be able to produce what you want with your name attached to it, maybe looking into great licensing deals to get it done, but always keeping the rights to your name.
I like it. You answered all my questions. You gave some perspective, and the Barbie thing is interesting. And that kind of, as I'm thinking about it, partnerships is where you want to make it happen. But there's a difference between partnerships and licensing, but you can use licensing within partnerships, correct?
Yeah, you can. So technically, like partnerships can be defined in so many ways, but a license deal is a partnership essentially, right? And so like, as a, sometimes when you are working, like with me as an attorney, a trademark attorney, I'm not out to trademark every single thing for a client if it does not make sense, right? I always say my client's success is my success, right? So how can we be successful in this, right? And so instead of like filing something that's gonna garner us a cease and desist letter, let's sit down and talk about how we can garner a partnership so we can actually, capitalize and get things out of it. And since the fans love it, and maybe the potential partner will love it as well.
I like it. Ms. Pierce, thank you so much for joining us. You are off the hot seat. Make sure to check her out on all social media platforms. Check out her summit. It sounds interesting. I appreciate your time, man.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. Thank you again for having me. And make sure everyone follow me on Instagram at The Biz Lawyer.
You heard it.